Welcome back to the channel, guys. Welcome back to the channel. So in today's video we are going to be talking about how to trade NFP using strictly price action. So let's go. What is NFP? So NFP is an abbreviation for non-farm payroll. So NFP is released on the first Friday of each new month from January to December. Each Friday of each new month, NFP is released. So what is NFP? NFP is a monthly report released by the United States Bureau of Labor Statistics that provides information on the number of jobs added or lost in the US economy, excluding farm workers, government employees, and non-farm and non-profit organization employees. This report is closely watched by investors and traders because it can impact financial markets, including stocks, bonds, and currency. So it doesn't matter what markets you are trading, NFP can affect your trading. So let's dive into how to trade NFP using strictly price action without no indicator. Things first, what do we do before we actually trade NFP? So before we trade NFP, we need to do our analysis. So when do we do our analysis? So I normally do my analysis in the London session. So in the London session open, I always do my analysis for the NFP trade prior to the US trading session. So this is what we do, guys. So we first go on to the 4 hourly. As you guys can see, this is the 4 hours time frame. You hop onto your 4 hours time frame. So when you look onto your 4 hours time frame, what do we see? So on the 4 hour time frame, we are seeing something like a double bottom. So this double bottom is actually a double bottom on the daily. So if we are to see on the daily, you guys will see that this is a clear double bottom. You guys can see that right there. This was actually a clear double bottom. So a double bottom, for those of you guys that don't know double bottoms, a double bottom is a reversal pattern. So we know that we have a double bottom, and a double bottom is actually a reversal pattern that indicates change in the trend. So we know that we are going to have a change in the trend. So we know that our bias here, if we have a double bottom, obviously our bias will be a bullish bias. So we hop onto the 4 hours time frame. So on the 4 hours time frame, remember we do our analysis prior to the US trading session. So let's assume that we are in the London trading session. So in the London trading session, we can see that we are having prices going to the upside. So on the 4 hourly, we are seeing prices going to the upside. So we need to go on to the 1 hour time frame to have a clearer view of what prices are really doing on what, on the lower time frame. So on the 1 hourly time frame, we are seeing prices actually moving to the to the upside. Sorry, prices are moving to the upside. So I already have this zone marked out. And why do I have this zone marked out? You can see that this zone was actually tested. I normally have my zones marked out in advance. You can see that it was tested once, this was twice, and this was thrice. You guys can see that my zone was a valid zone. So let me first get this out of the way such that I have a clearer view. So you guys can see that amidst all of this, we are seeing that prices are on the 1 hourly are actually moving to the upside. So before we go on to the lower time frame to look for entries, so we first look for our area of value. So if we are to get in our trades, our NFP trades, we have to first know where exactly are we going to get in our trades. So hopping on to the 5-minute time frame, we are seeing prices doing what? Prices are exhibiting a series of higher highs and higher lows. So we get a trend line. You make sure that you draw your trend line, and this trend line caters for the recent touches. Make sure that the recent two touches are catered for. Make sure that the recent two touches, as you guys can see right here, you guys can see that the recent two touches, which is this and this and this and this, are actually catered for. So you can see that this was actually around 20 minutes before NFP was released. So 20 minutes before NFP was released, we knew that we had our area of value right there. So our area of value, this was 13 and 25, and prices had came back to our area of value 5 minutes prior to when our NFP was released. So when prices get to that zone, obviously get in your trade, because you know that your 4-hourly time frame is actually telling you that your bias is bullish, and on the 5 minute is where you get your area of value to place your trade. So on the 5 minute, what we do obviously is get in our long position right there. As you can see, 5 minutes prior, you make sure that you get in your long position. Make sure that your stop loss is below the recent low, for this case, which is a bullish case. You can see that this was the recent low right here, this one right here, and we had our stop loss just a little bit below that recent price action. And then make sure that you put your take profit. You go back to the hourly. In order to set your take profit, make sure you go back to the 4-hourly to get the 4-hourly resistance. So for this case, on the 4-hourly, you saw that we had a resistance right here, which was a strong resistance in the past. So make sure that take your profit just before the recent high, and then get out with your profit. So you guys can see that the 5-minute entry actually gave us an edge on this trade. You could have got a 1 to 5 on this trade. As you guys can see, that this was the NFP candle release. This was the NFP candle release, and prices were at our area of value. As you guys know that we take the trade 5 minutes prior to the NFP release, and then stop loss just below the recent low, for this case, which is a bullish case, and then take your profit just below the 4-hourly resistance, as you guys have seen. So let's hop on to the next example. So for the next example, this is USDJPY. So same analysis. So on USDJPY, on the 4-hourly, we had our trend line right here, right? So we had our trend line right here, but what I saw on USDJPY was actually something that was ironic. So you guys can see that prices had went off our support zone. So remember that our 4-hourly bias was a what? A bullish bias. But for this case, prices had actually went off our what? Prices had went off our support zone or resist or trend line. So actually, I was looking at this and at this price action of USDJPY, and then I realized something, that you guys can see that we had a head and shoulders being formed. You guys can see that a head and shoulders was actually being formed. So for those of you guys that don't know what a head and shoulders is, a head and shoulders is a reversal pattern. So a head and shoulders is a reversal pattern. So you guys can see that we had a left shoulder right here. Let me get in that arrow for you guys. This right here, we had our left shoulder right there, and then we had our head right there, right? And then we had our right shoulder right there. So As soon as I saw this, I was sure that prices were going to reverse. Remember that we're at the 4-hourly, and a 4-hourly reversal pattern is actually a strong pattern. So hop onto your 1-hourly time frame and look at what the price action is actually doing at that right same time. So wait for your prices to actually reach that left shoulder zone. So as you guys can see, sorry about that sketchiness, but as you guys can see that prices actually reached to this zone. So on the 5 minutes, we saw that prices had reached to this zone, but the NFP release was not yet. So for this case, you would have took this trade regardless of the time. If you are on your screen by that time, you take your trade, set your stop loss just a little bit, give it a little bit of buffer somewhere there, and then look to take your profit on the 4-hourly support zone. So for this case, since this was a reversal pattern, you guys can look to trail stop losses as I did on this same trade. I actually took part of my profit right there at the trend line. I took my profit right there at the trend line right here, because on the 5 minute I actually saw like prices were bouncing off this trend line. As you guys can see, prices were bouncing off this trend line. So I was like, let me take off part of my, because this was the NFP release or candle, as you guys can see, and it actually came back to this trend line, and it looked like this trend line was a little bit strong. So what I did, I got my fib tool out, my fib retracement, and I normally do this. I actually got it and placed it right there, and I saw like prices had failed to go through this 0.5 retracement level. So I was sure that prices were actually going to move to the downside, but I didn't want to risk it because we had two news economic events that were being released at the same time. So I trailed my stop losses from here to here. As you guys could see, my stop loss was moved to profit, and then I had collected a half of my profit. So I trailed my stop loss to somewhere here, and I got stopped out right here. As you guys can see, I got stopped out right here, and then I got out with a beautiful trade. So that's it for today's video, guys. I'll see you guys in the next video. Make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next video.